My husband bought his ex an expensive gift using our joint account. He didn't know I was tracking every penny. I used to trust blindly. That was my first mistake. The morning started like any other Tuesday. I was sipping coffee at our kitchen island, scrolling through emails on my phone when the banking notification popped up. Transaction alert, $3,500 from joint account number 4528. My thumb hovered over the notification. Jake and I had an understanding. Anything over $500, we discussed first. This was 7 times that amount. I tapped on it, my stomach already tightening into a familiar knot of anxiety. Custom luxury goods. That's all the merchant description said. I set my mug down, the coffee suddenly tasting bitter. Jake had left early for work that morning, kissing my forehead while I was half asleep and murmuring something about a client breakfast. I debated texting him, but decided against it. Something told me to wait and observe. After 5 years of marriage, I'd learned to trust that little voice. When Jake returned that evening, I was chopping vegetables for dinner, knife rhythmically hitting the cutting board. "Hey, babe." He came up behind me, wrapping his arms around my waist and kissing my neck. He smelled like his usual cologne, mixed with something floral. "New air freshener at the office, maybe? How was your day?" I asked, my voice deliberately light. "The usual. Meetings, calls, people wanting things yesterday." He reached over me to grab a slice of bell pepper. "Yours." I set the knife down and turned to face him. "I got an alert from the bank today. There was a charge for $3,500. His expression flickered for just a second before settling into casual surprise. If I hadn't been watching so closely, I might have missed it entirely. "Oh, that." He waved dismissively. "It's something for the house. You'll love it when it arrives." "Something for the house," I repeated. "From where?" "This custom place. Mason recommended them." Mason was his college friend who worked in interior design. "It's a surprise," he added with a wink. "For our anniversary next month." Our 5-year anniversary was coming up. It was plausible, but the knot in my stomach didn't loosen. After dinner, Jake fell asleep on the couch watching basketball. I took his phone to charge it beside mine, an old habit from when his battery died one too many times, and noticed a text notification from a number saved simply as S. "It's perfect. Absolutely perfect. Thank you, X." The message preview ended there. I could have opened it, read the whole conversation. But I didn't. Not yet. Instead, I plugged in his phone and went upstairs to my laptop. It took less than 5 minutes to find the transaction details in our online banking. The merchant wasn't some interior design shop. It was Bellini's, a high-end boutique downtown known for their custom leather goods, particularly their signature monogrammed handbags. My sister had wanted one for her birthday last year, but at $2,000 for their basic line, we'd settled on a weekend spa getaway instead. I took a screenshot, then navigated to their website. They had an option to track orders by receipt number, which I had from our bank statement. I input the numbers, heart pounding. Order status, completed item, executive tote, limited edition, customized initials, SC special instructions, gift wrapping with note, SC. Not my initials. Not even close. My hands trembled as I took another screenshot. I opened Excel and created a new spreadsheet titled Household Budget. But the first tab I created wasn't labeled Mortgage or Utilities. I called it Evidence. That night, I couldn't sleep. Jake snored peacefully beside me, one arm flung across my side of the bed. I stared at the ceiling, mentally scrolling through our recent months together. Had there been signs? Late nights at work, new cologne, increased attention to his appearance, weekends suddenly filled with client meetings. The classic signs were all there, but I'd been too busy, too trusting, too in love to notice them. By morning, I'd made a decision. If Jake was playing games, I needed to understand the rules. I created a new email account and linked it to our joint bank account for notifications. I downloaded our last 6 months of statements and combed through them line by line. Most charges were routine, groceries, utilities, our mortgage. But there were anomalies. Dinners on nights he told me he was working late, charges at a jewelry store 3 months ago that I'd never seen a gift from, hotel parking when he claimed to be at conferences. Each discrepancy went into my spreadsheet with a date, time, and my own notes. I added columns for his explanations and the verifiable truth as I discovered it. I went to my friend Darcy for advice. She'd gone through an ugly divorce last year. Her suggestion was simple but brilliant. Document everything, and don't let him know what you're doing. So that's exactly what I did. For the next week, I became a financial detective in my own marriage. I created separate folders for screenshots, receipts, and any correspondence I could find. I even installed a budget tracking app that mirrored our joint account activity to my phone with instant notifications. The $3,500 handbag remained the largest unexplained expense, but it was far from the only one. Small charges at florists, more dinners, a weekend work retreat, at a resort where I later discovered they stayed in the honeymoon suite. The evidence piled up, and with it, my determination. The strange thing was, once I started looking, I felt calmer than I had in months. The ground beneath me was crumbling, but at least I could see it happening. No more gaslighting, no more second-guessing myself. Just cold, hard numbers that couldn't lie. What Jake didn't realize was that I wasn't just a wife who'd been betrayed. Before marriage, I'd built my career in financial analysis. Numbers were my language. Money left footprints, and I was following them straight to the truth. By the time his cousin Lexi's baby shower invitation arrived, my spreadsheet had grown to over 100 entries. I had dates, times, locations, amounts. I knew which days he'd lied about his whereabouts. I even had the receipt for that damn handbag printed and tucked into my planner. What I didn't have yet was a face. A name. The other woman. That was about to change. Lexi's baby shower was held at her mother's sprawling Victorian home in the suburbs. I'd always loved this house with its wraparound porch and intricate woodwork, though today it felt more like walking into a trap I'd set myself. There she is. Lexi waddled over, her 8-month belly leading the way. She embraced me warmly, her blonde curls tickling my cheek. "I'm so glad you could make it." Jake said he might be late, something about picking someone up. My smile remained fixed, but my mind raced. Jake had driven separately, claiming he needed to run errands before the party. Another lie to add to my spreadsheet. "Don't worry about him," I said, handing her a carefully wrapped gift basket. "This day is all about you and the little one." The house buzzed with activity, aunts arranging food platters, cousins hanging decorations, and Jake's mother, Eleanor, orchestrating it all with military precision. I offered to help in the kitchen, grateful for the distraction. "Darling, would you mind slicing these strawberries?" Eleanor handed me a knife and cutting board. "You always make them look so perfect." I was halfway through the fruit platter when the front door opened. Jake's voice carried through the house, followed by female laughter. Light, tinkling, and somehow familiar. I froze, strawberry juice staining my fingertips red. "Sorry we're late, everyone," Jake announced. "Look who I ran into at the coffee shop." I turned slowly, knife still in hand, and that's when I saw her. Sabrina Chun, Jake's college girlfriend. The one he'd dated for 3 years before meeting me. The one he claimed was ancient history. She stood in the entryway like she owned it, one manicured hand resting on Jake's arm. Her dark hair fell in perfect waves, and her makeup highlighted cheekbones sharp enough to cut glass. But what caught my eye, what made my blood freeze in my veins, was the bag hanging from her shoulder. Buttery caramel leather with a distinct geometric pattern and gold hardware. And there, embossed in the corner, were the initials SC. Sabrina Chun, SC. The custom luxury handbag from Bellini's. Eleanor. Sabrina glided across the room to air kiss Jake's mother. "It's been too long. You look fabulous as always." Eleanor's surprise was evident, but she recovered quickly. "Sabrina, what an unexpected pleasure. I didn't realize you were invited." "Oh, I wasn't officially," Sabrina laughed, waving her hand dismissively. "But I ran into Jake this morning, and when he mentioned the shower, I just had to stop by. Lexi and I were roommates in college, remember?" From my vantage point in the kitchen, I could see everything. Jake's nervous glances, The way Sabrina's hand lingered on his sleeve. The confused looks from family members. "Hey," whispered Darcy, who'd arrived moments before and joined me in the kitchen. "Isn't that Jake's ex? The investment banker?" I nodded, mechanically continuing to slice strawberries. The very same. "What's she doing here?" Darcy's eyes narrowed. "And is that a Bellini bag? Those cost a fortune." $3,500 to be exact, I replied, my voice unnaturally calm. "Plus tax." Darcy's head whipped toward me. "How do you?" Her eyes widened as understanding dawned. "Oh my God, Emma. He didn't." I set down the knife, wiped my hands on a towel, and pulled out my phone. "He did. But he doesn't know that I know." The party continued around us. Jake played the perfect host, bringing Sabrina into conversations, making sure her champagne glass stayed full. Eleanor kept shooting concerned glances my way, but I smiled reassuringly each time. Let them think I was clueless. It worked to my advantage. I excused myself to use the bathroom, taking a detour past Sabrina, who had set her bag on a side table while she held Lexi's ultrasound photos. Up close, there was no mistaking it. The exact bag from the Bellini website, right down to the limited edition hardware that had added an extra $500 to the price tag. In the bathroom, I pulled up the screenshots on my phone. The receipt with the purchase date just 10 days ago. The order details with her initials. Then I took a deep breath and opened our family group chat. Jake's entire extended family used this chat, his parents, siblings, cousins, aunts, and uncles. Even his grandparents, though they rarely posted anything beyond accidental selfies and birthday wishes. 63 members in total. I hesitated, my thumb hovering over the screen. Was I really going to do this? Expose him in front of everyone he loved? A burst of laughter from downstairs made the decision for me. Sabrina's laugh, followed by Jake's. They were probably reminiscing about old times, creating an alternate history where I was just a blip in their epic love story. I attached the screenshot of the receipt, followed by a photo I'd just surreptitiously taken of Sabrina's bag. Then I typed a simple message. Spotted at Lexi's shower. The $3,500 something for the house Jake bought with our joint account 10 days ago. Initials match. Funny coincidence. My heart pounded as I stared at the message. This would change everything. There would be no going back. From downstairs, I heard Sabrina laugh again, saying something about always knowing we'd find our way back to each other. I hit send. Then I slipped my phone into my pocket, checked my reflection in the mirror, composed, dignified, and walked downstairs to watch the implosion of my marriage in real time. The notifications started pinging before I even reached the bottom step. I reached the bottom of the stairs just as the first wave of notifications hit everyone's phones. The synchronized chiming and vibrating created an almost musical effect, a symphony of digital exposure. Jake was mid-laugh at something Sabrina had said when his phone buzzed in his pocket. He ignored it at first, his focus entirely on her. A second buzz. Then a third. Around the room, family members were reaching for their devices, their expressions shifting from festive to confused to shocked. I casually walked to the drinks table and poured myself a mimosa, taking a deliberate sip as I positioned myself where I could see everyone's reactions. Eleanor was the first to read the message. Her perfectly penciled eyebrows shot up, and her head snapped toward Jake, then Sabrina, then to me. Our eyes met briefly. I gave her a small, sad smile and raised my glass slightly. "Jake," Eleanor called, her voice cutting through the now quieting room. "Could you come here, please?" He looked annoyed at the interruption but excused himself from Sabrina's side. "What's up, Mom?" She didn't answer, just handed him her phone. I watched the color drain from his face as he read the message and saw the attached images. His eyes darted around the room, landing on me with a mix of shock and betrayal. He felt betrayed? The irony wasn't lost on me. "Emma," he started, taking a step toward me. "This isn't what?" Jake's sister Melissa interrupted, holding up her own phone. "Isn't exactly what it looks like. Because it looks like you bought your ex-girlfriend an insanely expensive gift with your wife's money." Sabrina, who had been chatting with Lexi, finally sensed the shift in atmosphere. Is everything okay? She moved toward Jake, the infamous bag swinging from her shoulder. By now, everyone was looking at their phones, then at Sabrina's bag, then at Jake, then at me. The family's heads swiveled in unison, like spectators at a particularly dramatic tennis match. What's going on? Sabrina asked, reaching for Jake's arm. Jake's cousin Tyler, always the family's tech enthusiast, had already zoomed in on the receipt image. Well, according to this Bellini's receipt from your joint account, Jake bought you that very specific bag 10 days ago. The one with your initials that you're carrying right now. Sabrina's hand flew to her bag protectively. What? She looked at Jake with wide eyes. You said this was from your personal account. The room went absolutely silent. Even baby Theo, Lexi's 3-year-old nephew, stopped banging his toys to stare at the adults. You told her it was from your personal account? I finally spoke, my voice steady despite the hurricane of emotions inside me. So you knew exactly what you were doing when you used our joint money. Jake ran a hand through his hair, desperation etched across his face. Emma, please, can we discuss this privately? Why? I took another sip of my mimosa. You didn't seem concerned about privacy when you were buying designer gifts for your ex. It's not what you think, Jake insisted, his voice rising. Sabrina and I reconnected professionally. She's helping me with some investments. The bag was a thank you gift. Eleanor stepped forward, her expression thunderous. A thank you gift? For what exactly? What kind of investment advice is worth almost $4,000 of your wife's money? It wasn't Emma's money, Jake protested. It was our joint account. Half of which is mine, I reminded him. Half of which I contribute to every month from my salary. Half of which was supposed to be for our future, not your ex-girlfriend's accessories. Sabrina, looking increasingly uncomfortable, began backing toward the door. I should probably go. This seems like a family matter. Oh no, Melissa blocked her path. You're very much part of this family matter. Did you know Jake was married when you accepted this gift? Sabrina's eyes darted between Jake and me. Of course I knew he was married. He said Emma was fine with it, that they had an understanding. A collective gasp rippled through the room. I nearly choked on my mimosa. An understanding? I repeated, my composure finally cracking. Is that what you call it when you lie to your wife about a purchase, then secretly give it to your ex? I'd love to hear more about this understanding. Jake's father, Charles, who had been quietly observing from his armchair, stood up. Jacob Arthur Reynolds. He used Jake's full name, something he hadn't done since Jake crashed his car as a teenager. I raised you better than this. Dad, please. Jake looked desperate now. It's complicated. It's really not, Charles replied, his disappointment palpable. You lied to your wife. You spent her money on another woman. There's nothing complicated about that. Lexi, the forgotten guest of honor, had been watching the drama unfold with her hands protectively over her baby bump. I think, she said quietly, we should remember why we're here today. You're right, Eleanor nodded, turning to Lexi. This is your special day, and we're ruining it. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. But Lexi shook her head. No, that's not what I meant. She looked directly at Jake. We're here to celebrate new life, new beginnings. Not to watch you destroy what you already have. I love you, cousin, but what you've done is inexcusable. Jake looked around the room, searching for a single sympathetic face and finding none. Even his childhood best friend, Mark, was shaking his head in disgust. Sabrina finally managed to edge toward the door, her prized bag now clutched awkwardly against her chest like a shield. I'm leaving. Jake, call me when you've sorted this mess out. She paused at the threshold. And just so everyone knows, there was nothing physical between us. Yet. The implied yet hung in the air like a grenade with its pin removed. As the front door slammed behind her, all eyes returned to Jake and me. Emma, Jake approached me, his voice low and desperate. We need to talk. I drained the last of my mimosa and set the glass down carefully on the table. No, I replied calmly. What we need is a divorce. The family group chat pinged again. This time it was Eleanor. Dinner at her house tomorrow night. Emma, we expect you there. Jake, don't bother coming. The drive home felt like crossing a wasteland. Jake had tried to convince me to ride with him, but I declined, choosing to have Darcy drive me instead. The silence in her car was comforting. No explanations needed, no excuses to deflect. Do you want me to come in with you? Darcy asked as we pulled into my driveway. Jake's car was already there, parked crookedly across the garage entrance. I can stay the night if you need me to. I shook my head. This is something I need to handle alone. I squeezed her hand. But keep your phone on, just in case. The house lights were all on, blazing through every window like a department store after hours. I found Jake pacing in our living room, his tie loosened and hair disheveled from running his hands through it repeatedly. Finally, he exclaimed when I walked in. Where have you been? I've been calling you for an hour. I set my purse down on the console table and removed my jacket carefully, buying time. My phone had indeed shown 17 missed calls from him, all of which I'd ignored. I was with Darcy. I needed to think. Think? Jake laughed, incredulously. You humiliated me in front of my entire family without even giving me a chance to explain, and you needed to think. The audacity was almost impressive. Explain what, exactly? How you lied about a $3,500 purchase? Or how you've been secretly meeting your ex-girlfriend? Which part were you planning to clarify? Jake ran his hands through his hair again. It's not what it looked like. Sabrina and I reconnected a few months ago. 3 months and 12 days ago, I interrupted. At the Westfield Financial Conference, you said you were attending alone, but you posted a group photo on LinkedIn. She was standing next to you. He blinked, momentarily thrown off. You've been investigating me. I've been paying attention, I corrected him. Something I should have started doing much sooner, apparently. Jake switched tactics, his voice softening. Emma, please. It started innocently. She's in a position to help with some major clients. The gift was just business. Was the dinner at Le Bernardin business too? Or the hotel room at the Langham last month, when you said you were at a team retreat in Chicago? His face paled. How did you— Credit card statements, Jake? They tell quite a story. I moved to the kitchen and poured myself a glass of water, needing something to occupy my hands. Did you really think I wouldn't find out? I made a mistake, he admitted, following me. A terrible mistake. But I swear, nothing physical happened between us. Yet, I reminded him, echoing Sabrina's parting shot. Nothing happened yet. She was just saying that to cause trouble. You know how dramatic Sabrina can be. Actually, I don't know that. I've met her exactly twice. Once at your cousin's wedding, 5 years ago, and today when she waltzed in with a bag that cost more than our monthly mortgage payment. I took a deliberate sip of water, a bag you bought her with our joint money. Jake's demeanor suddenly shifted. His shoulders slumped, and he collapsed onto one of the kitchen stools, head in his hands. When he looked up, his eyes were wet. I'm so sorry, Emma. I got caught up in something I couldn't control. Sabrina has always had this pull on me. When we reconnected, all those old feelings rushed back, and I lost myself for a while. For a moment, just a moment, I felt the familiar urge to comfort him, to say it would be okay. 5 years of marriage had conditioned me to be his emotional support. But then I remembered the spreadsheet, the screenshots, the carefully documented trail of lies. That's a lovely performance, I said coolly. But I'm not buying it anymore. His face hardened. What do you want me to say? That I'm a terrible person? Fine. I'm a terrible person. But people make mistakes, Emma. Marriages survive worse than this every day. Not this marriage. I set my glass down with a definitive click. Not anymore. You don't mean that. He stood up, approaching me with outstretched hands. We can work through this. Counseling, therapy, whatever you want. I'll cut all contact with Sabrina. I'll change jobs if I have to. I stepped back. It's too late, Jake. Because of one mistake? His voice rose again. Frustration overtaking contrition. You're throwing away 5 years of marriage over one stupid gift? No, I replied calmly. I'm ending our marriage because of 3 months and 12 days of lie. Because you used our money we were saving for our future. For the family we talked about starting next year to buy another woman a luxury gift. Because when confronted, your first instinct was still to lie. His expression darkened. So that's it? No second chances? From my purse, I withdrew a manila folder labeled Financial Infidelity in neat block letters. I slid it across the counter to him. "What's this?" he asked, not opening it. "Everything I've collected over the past 2 weeks. Dates, times, charges, receipts. Your explanations versus the reality." I kept my voice steady despite the trembling in my chest. Page 12 shows the consultation receipt from Greenfield & Associates. "The divorce attorneys?" Jake's voice cracked as he finally opened the folder. "You've already seen a divorce attorney. Last Thursday, while you were having lunch with Sabrina at Maison Claire." I watched his eyes widen as he realized the extent of my knowledge. "They've drafted preliminary paperwork. You'll be served formally next week." "Emma, please," he begged, the folder trembling in his hands. "We can fix this." "There's nothing left to fix." I gestured toward the folder. "It's all there in black and white. Numbers don't lie, Jake. Even when you do." "I love you," he whispered, a last desperate attempt. I smiled sadly. "No, you love the idea of me, the supportive wife who asks no questions, who trusts blindly, who forgives endlessly. That person doesn't exist anymore." I picked up my purse and headed toward the stairs. "I'm staying at the Residence Inn starting tonight. I've already packed a bag. My lawyer will contact yours about dividing our assets." Behind me, I heard the sound of the folder hitting the wall, papers scattering across our immaculate hardwood floors. "You can't do this," Jake shouted after me. "You can't just throw everything away." I paused on the stairs, looking back at him one last time. "I'm not the one who threw everything away, Jake. I'm just the one who caught it happening." The Residence Inn felt sterile but peaceful. No memories haunted these beige walls. No photographs mocked me with images of happier times. I'd booked it for 2 weeks, enough time to find something more permanent. On my first morning there, I woke to 37 text messages and 12 voicemails from Jake. I listened to only one. "Emma, please, I made a terrible mistake. Call me back. We need to talk. I love you." Delete. The remaining messages followed a predictable pattern. Pleas for forgiveness, attempts at justification, promises to change, and finally, as the night wore on, anger and accusations. By dawn, he'd cycled through the full spectrum of desperation. I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I called my bank first thing Monday morning and spoke to Margaret, the branch manager who had helped us open our joint account 5 years ago. "I need to remove my name from a joint account immediately," I explained. "And I'd like to open a new personal account where my direct deposit can be redirected." "Of course, Mrs. Reynolds," Margaret replied professionally. "Although I should inform you that removing yourself from a joint account doesn't remove your liability for any existing debt on that account." "I'm aware," I said, thinking of the spreadsheet I'd created, now backed up in 3 different places. "Can I schedule an appointment this morning?" 3 hours later, I walked out of the bank with a new personal account, my name removed from our joint credit cards, and half the balance from our joint savings transferred to my new account. Exactly what I was legally entitled to, not a penny more. My lawyer had been explicit about keeping everything above board. By noon, I had emails out to our landlord, insurance companies, and utility providers updating my contact information. By 2, I'd contacted HR at my company to change my direct deposit and beneficiary information. Jake called 17 more times throughout the day. I let each one go to voicemail. At 4, my phone rang with a number I recognized. Eleanor, my mother-in-law. "Emma," her voice was warm but tentative when I answered. "How are you holding up, dear?" "I'm okay," I replied, surprised by the genuine concern in her tone. "I'm sorry about what happened at Lexi's shower." "Don't you dare apologize," Eleanor said firmly. "The only person who should be apologizing is my son. That boy." She sighed heavily. "Charles and I raised him better than this." A lump formed in my throat. I'd always loved Jake's parents. They'd welcomed me into their family with open arms, treated me like a daughter from day one. "I want you to know," Eleanor continued, "that whatever happens between you and Jake, you're still family to us. That doesn't change." My eyes welled with tears. "Thank you. That means more than you know. Are you coming to dinner tomorrow?" "The invitation stands." I hesitated. I don't know if that's appropriate, given the circumstances. Nonsense, Eleanor insisted. This family stands by those who deserve it. Right now, that's you, not Jake. After we hung up, I sat on the edge of the hotel bed, staring at my wedding ring. 5 years of promises contained in a simple gold band. I slid it off and placed it in my jewelry box, not to sell or return, just to acknowledge that its meaning had been hollowed out, leaving only an empty circle of metal. The next morning, the formal separation papers arrived from my lawyer. Everything was in order, exactly as we discussed. I signed my name on each flagged line, the pen leaving behind dark, definitive strokes. My phone buzzed with a text from a number I didn't recognize. Emma, it's Sabrina. We need to talk. My thumb hovered over the message. What could she possibly have to say that I needed to hear? I typed back. There's nothing to discuss. Her response was immediate. I didn't know about the joint account. He told me it was his money. Does that change anything? I replied. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, no, I guess it doesn't. I'm sorry anyway. I didn't respond. Her apology meant nothing to me. It was likely more about assuaging her own guilt than any real remorse for her actions. The damage was done. That afternoon, I met with a real estate agent to view apartments. The third one we looked at, a sunlit one-bedroom with a small balcony overlooking a park, felt right immediately. It was nothing like the sleek, modern condo Jake and I had shared. This place was older, with character. Crown molding, hardwood floors with a gentle patina, built-in bookshelves flanking a brick fireplace. I'll take it, I told the agent. Don't you want to think about it overnight? She asked, surprised. I shook my head. I've done enough thinking. This feels like a fresh start. By 6, I'd submitted the application with my newly independent financial information. By 7, I was sitting at Eleanor and Charles's dining room table, surrounded by Jake's family, all of whom had chosen to support me. Have you heard from him? Melissa asked as she passed me the potatoes. He's called. I haven't answered. I took a small serving. My lawyer advised against direct communication for now. Charles nodded approvingly. Smart. Keep everything above board. He called us too, Eleanor said, her mouth set in a grim line. Tried to convince us you were overreacting. That man has always had a talent for rewriting history. Speaking of history, Tyler chimed in. Did you see that Sabrina's Instagram post got deleted? The one where she tagged the boutique and thanked her special someone for the gift. My fork paused halfway to my mouth. I didn't know she posted about it. Tyler nodded eagerly. Oh, yeah, it was up for like 2 days last week. She tagged both Bellini's and Jake's personal account. That's how I recognized the bag so quickly at the shower. I'd already seen it online. A chill ran through me. So their relationship hadn't been as secretive as Jake had pretended. He'd allowed himself to be publicly linked to her gift, perhaps even wanted the recognition. The internet remembers everything, Tyler continued, pulling out his phone. I took a screenshot. He slid his phone across the table, and there it was, Sabrina posing with a caramel leather bag, a coy smile on her face. The caption read, "Some men know exactly how to make a girl feel special. Thank you at Jake Reynolds for the perfect gift. Hashtag Bellini Original, hashtag Luxury Life, hashtag Spoiled Rotten." I stared at the image, a strange calm settling over me. In that moment, I realized that I wasn't just leaving Jake. I was escaping a man I never really knew at all. And it felt like freedom. 6 months after the baby shower that changed everything, I stood in my apartment arranging fresh peonies in a vase by the window. Sunlight streamed through the gauzy curtains I'd hung myself, casting dappled patterns across the hardwood floors. This place felt more like home than anywhere I'd lived before, perhaps because every item in it was chosen solely by me, for me. My phone chimed with a calendar reminder. Lexi's baby's christening, 2 p.m. I smiled, running my fingers over the screen. Life had a strange way of coming full circle. The divorce had been finalized 3 months ago. Jake hadn't contested anything after his initial bluster faded. Perhaps the unified front of his family supporting me had taken the fight out of him. Or maybe it was the meticulous financial evidence I'd compiled, which my lawyer had described as the most thorough documentation I've seen in 20 years of divorce cases. We divided our assets cleanly. I took what was fairly mine, no more and no less. The condo sold quickly, and we split the proceeds. The only thing I didn't want was the wedding china, those delicate plates and cups that had been more his taste than mine anyway. Let him and Sabrina eat off them if they wanted. The thought no longer stung. As I applied my makeup for the christening, my phone buzzed with a text from Melissa. "Need a ride? I'm leaving in 30. I'll be ready." I texted back. "Thanks." Melissa and I had grown closer in the aftermath, our weekly coffee dates becoming a cherished routine. She'd been the one who connected me with my new job at a boutique financial firm that specialized in helping women achieve financial independence, work that felt meaningful in ways my corporate position never had. The doorbell rang just as I was slipping on my shoes. Through the peephole, I saw Eleanor holding a small gift bag. "I was in the neighborhood," she explained when I opened the door, enveloping me in a warm hug that smelled of Chanel No. 5. "Thought we could ride to the christening together." "Melissa's picking me up," I said, inviting her in. "But you're welcome to join us." Eleanor nodded approvingly as she took in my apartment. "You've made this place beautiful, Emma. It suits you." "Thank you." I accepted the gift bag she offered. "What's this?" "Just a little housewarming gift." "Open it." Inside was a small, framed photograph of Jake's extended family from last Christmas, with me in the center, laughing at something Charles had said. I'd almost forgotten it was taken. "I wanted you to know," Eleanor said softly, "that this isn't just how we see you. This is who you are to us. Family doesn't end with divorce papers." My throat tightened. I don't know what to say. "You don't need to say anything." She squeezed my hand. "Just come to Sunday dinner next week. Everyone misses you." As we drove to the church with Melissa, Eleanor filled me in on the family gossip. Tyler had gotten engaged. Charles was finally retiring. Jake's cousin Ben had moved to Seattle. And Jake? I finally asked, the question I'd been avoiding for months. Eleanor and Melissa exchanged glances in the rearview mirror. "He's not coming today," Eleanor said carefully. "Lexi made it clear he wasn't welcome without a sincere apology to you first." "Has he been seeing much of the family?" "Not really," Melissa replied, turning onto the church street. "He showed up at Dad's birthday last month, but left early. It was awkward. He brought Sabrina." "So they're still together," I said, surprised by how little I felt about this information. "For now." Eleanor's tone was diplomatic but cool. "Though from what I hear, the shine is wearing off rapidly, especially after the boutique incident." I raised an eyebrow. "What boutique incident?" Melissa grinned mischievously as she parked the car. "You didn't hear? Bellinis featured Sabrina in their social media campaign about valued customers. They posted that photo of her with the bag and tagged both her and Jake. His company's compliance department had a field day with that. Apparently, there are strict rules about employees accepting or giving luxury gifts to financial clients. Which Sabrina technically was, Eleanor added. Jake was put on probation at work, had to take an ethics course. I shouldn't have felt satisfaction at this news, but I did, a small, vindicating spark. Not because I wanted him to suffer, but because actions having consequences meant the world made sense after all. The christening was beautiful. Baby Olivia, dressed in a gown that had been in Lexi's husband's family for generations, barely fussed as holy water trickled over her forehead. I stood in the back of the church, watching Lexi beam with pride, her husband's arm wrapped protectively around her waist. At the reception in the church hall afterward, I was helping arrange the cake table when Charles approached, 2 champagne flutes in hand. "A toast," he said, offering me one. "To new beginnings." I accepted the glass with a smile. To new beginnings. As the afternoon wore on, I found myself surrounded by people who had once been connected to me only through Jake, but who now sought me out on my own merit. His aunt asked for advice about her retirement portfolio. His teenage niece wanted to know if I'd help her with college financial aid applications. His grandmother simply held my hand, and told me I looked happy. "You are, aren't you?" Darcy asked later, as we sat together watching Lexi open presents. "Happy, I mean." I considered the question carefully. The past 6 months had been challenging. Rebuilding a life from scratch always is. There had been lonely nights and difficult mornings, moments of doubt and flashes of anger. But underneath it all ran a current of something I'd nearly forgotten: self-respect. I answered honestly. Not because the divorce made me happy, but because I refused to let it make me less. As if on cue, my phone pinged with a notification. A professional networking site was suggesting I connect with someone. Jake Reynolds, newly listed as regional manager at a smaller firm across town, a definite step down from his previous position. I declined the suggestion and tucked my phone away. Some connections, once broken, should stay that way. But others, the ones formed in fire, tempered by truth, those were worth keeping. I looked around at the faces of my chosen family and raised my glass in a private toast. To finding strength in unexpected places, to tracking every penny, and to the future that was finally completely mine.